Alright guys, Tactical here back again today. Hope you're really enjoying your Sunday so far. Today it is time to recap day 2 of CDL Chicago. Very, very interesting indeed. It came to the conclusion that these 4 teams are the ones that remain. Atlanta FaZe, Seattle Surge, Dallas Empire and Chicago Huntsmen. We'll talk about over the next few minutes exactly how we got to this point. So big comebacks. Chicago of course getting revenge on their nemesis New York Subliners that beat them on the very first day of action. Trying to pull off a Florida Mutineers, right? Lost to Toronto Ultra in their very first game in a Game 5 fashion, of course, at the Dallas home series, bringing it back, winning their next 4 series to win the championship indeed. So that first loss could go out the window now, given it's now just single elimination fashion. We'll talk about this over the coming minutes. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always. Also, big thank you to Cam Allen for the stats I'm going to be sharing with you guys in today's video. Horizontal, the graphics designer, I think his PC had some issues, so we don't get the really snazzy graphics today, but still all the stats are there in full form for you guys. So yeah, give him a follow down in the description box below, and let's hop right into things. So, game 1 of the day, Dallas Empire versus the Seattle Surge. Really interesting start to this one, with Seattle winning game number 1 here on Azir Cave, but Empire bounced back in impressive fashion. Of course, Seattle's weakness really has been their search and destroy. Empire make use of it, winning the gun runner, and they win a really close domination as well on gun runner, and then they close out their series on Hackney Yard. So, still, Seattle Surge haven't beaten any single team in the entire league, apart from the Los Angeles Guerrillas, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes time here, but this is how the stats ended up finishing off for the series. So yeah, impressive maps from Hook and Illy especially, or impressive series on the whole, and I think Karma had some real issues over the course of the day with the internet and the servers. We'll have a look at a clip from the next series they played versus LAG in a second here, but it doesn't start off great for Seattle. Dallas Empire move through to the semi-finals in the very first series of the day, and then Atlanta FaZe do the same thing, but this was an incredible series versus the Subliners, and you got to feel bad for the Subliners, right? Like, they beat Chicago first time, then they have to play FaZe, they lose to them, and then have to play Chicago again. Like, it was a tough series for them, but this map 4 was pretty incredible. Honestly, map 2 was impressive by FaZe, and their search and destroy really came out. Like, on this game number 2, Abizi got first blooded so many times, it was ridiculous. They were slow peeking attached with the sniper. Like, FaZe making some uncharacteristic mistakes, frankly, on this Arcloth peak search, but they really clutched up and won some important rounds. Then they win the domination, but game 4 on St. Petro was incredible. One of the cleanest hardpoints I've ever seen from New York, or really any team. They did not lose a rotation. It was like 170 to 20 at one point in favor of New York. They close it out comfortably. Attach goes 19-7 over the course of the map. Like, you die 7 times in a hardpoint against FaZe of all teams. That's incredible. But the domination, or the search and destroy, once again favored FaZe. They really got themselves composed and clutched up on some Petro hardpoint. So yeah, they do win the game 5, but clearly, I mean, look at these results here. It's not easy to beat FaZe in hardpoint. They did it twice in a series, right? So you got to say fair play to New York. Clearly much improved, and this is how things looked over the course of the series. You know, Attach once again with a 1.3 over the course of it, but a lot of this was due to that map where he just did not die at all. But yeah, Simp, just a negative actually, but still some impressive slaying out of the side of FaZe. They get the job done in the end, but only really the search and destroy that made things happen. So they move onwards, and New York drop down to the losers. Then we have Los Angeles Guerrillas versus OpTic Gaming Los Angeles. Battle of LA once again. And OGLA, really, apparently they're having a lot of server issues right now, and definitely this is worthy of discussion post-events. But yeah, Guerrillas get the better of them. Impressive search and destroy. Like, I've been talking pre-weekend about how good they are in search. Like, from what I've seen, I think the Guerrillas are impressive in search. They show it here, but when they play Seattle Surge in search, they seem to get smoked. So I don't know what's going on there, but they win both hardpoints, lose the dom, and the search and destroy kind of makes the difference in this one, to be honest. But Guerrillas get the better of OGLA. Like, this is just not impressive, right? Like, I'm sure a lot of people came into this weekend expecting OGLA to put up some sort of resistance now and get over the hump and start firing on all cylinders. And it doesn't seem like LAG are a good team either, given the fact that they keep getting smoked by Seattle. But OGLA are losing to them, right? So what's wrong here? What's going on? Probably worthy of another discussion post this event, especially when we consider Slasher having these talks about 100 ping. Kenny did a tweet saying he was on 200 ping, talking about the server situation, how far away they're playing from. Apparently they're not neutral servers and whatever. So clearly not ideal from, well, the CDL's perspective, from Slasher's perspective, and I'm sure the OpTic Gaming guys are kind of losing motivation now to even fully focus up. So it's not a good situation by any means, but yeah, they fall out of the tournament once again. And then we have this game, Huntsman versus the London Royal Ravens. This was an incredible map and or incredible series. I really feel bad for London, frankly, because they lose to Huntsman twice, or they lose to FaZe and then they lose to Huntsman to go out of this tournament 0-2. But they had two super close maps against FaZe in their first series. And then they lose hard points to Petrograd 252-43, gets kind of smoked on the Search and Destroy, but bounced back big time in the domination. But it was the game 4 that really came down to the wire here. On Azir Cave, they lost in a very similar scoreline to Atlanta FaZe when Simp dropped the 49. But here, they lose once again, but it's incredibly close fashion. They really could have won this one. It came down to the tick. I'll share it on screen for you guys right now. Yeah, the tick was incredible, frankly. The middle hard point, a lot of people asking exactly why and how this works, but effectively, there's 60 seconds in the whole of a hill. On at 59 seconds when it first ticks, that's when the first second gets added on. So it makes sense that the final seconds gets added on at 0.00. London were tweeting as if they didn't know this, but like, surely you know that in Modern Warfare, you get the tick. If it's 0.00, you get the tick in hardpoints in Modern Warfare. World War II, it was the other way around. You didn't get the tick. So, like, people surely should know this at this point. Look, disappointing for London Royal Ravens. If they'd have not got that tick, they may well have won the rotation over to P2, even though Envoy was kind of over there, so it wasn't set in stone. But still, impressive clutch factor from the Huntsmen, right? Winning 2 really, really close hardpoints here. And they stay alive in the tournament. But London Royal Ravens go out and, yeah, just a tough run for them. Wiskin really had his first poor series of the entire year, frankly. And it cost them in the end, but Scraps did play very, very well indeed. So let's move on to the final 2 series of the day then. That being Seattle Surge versus the LA Gorillas to start things off. Once again, this is the 4th time this season they have played. And Seattle Surge get the better of them once again. We talked about yesterday how Slactor was saying, 25-minute series, these guys are horrible. Once again today, they get the job done, winning Search and Destroys against them. Clearly, supreme confidence from the Seattle Surge. I'll play a clip in just a second here of, Karma not having the best time, let's say, on these servers right now. But this is how things finish off. So LAG go out the tournament. Pretty remarkable, frankly, that Surge do this to them once again. 4 times they've played, 4 times they have come out victorious. Blast with a 1v2 or 1.2, but it doesn't help them particularly. And Octane with a 1.5 over the course of the series. Karmanot with a great one, but apparently having some server issues, shall we say. And Octane did this funny tweet, put the points in the bag. I think someone photoshopped Los Angeles Gorillas head on the bank teller here. But yeah, pretty funny. Like, they haven't beaten anyone but the LAG, and they make it to a semi-finals, right? There is probably something to be said about the state of the the format, I suppose. Given that they beat LAG twice, make it to semis, whereas London and New York don't have the best time of things, right? So this is the record the overall this season. They've only beaten LAG, right? Which is pretty incredible. And this was a screenshot from Apathy here. Like, look at this. This guy just freezes midair. Like, what's going on? This is what it seems like the servers are like for Damon right now, which is incredible. But apparently no one else really having that issue. But let's go on to the final series of the day. That being Subliners versus the Huntsmen. And this is where the Huntsmen were really looking for revenge. But it didn't start off great. They lose hardpoint map number 1 on Gunrunner 250-195 just as they did yesterday. Mac dropped like 45 kills, going out of control, clearly finding his comfort zone on the Subliners. But Huntsman do bounce back with an impressive win on Arklov Peak. They were down 3-1 and they were down 3-1 and in a 5 versus 4, and it really wasn't looking good. But Formal and Arcitys, they clutch up, they win a few rounds in a row and run away with it in a 6-3 fashion. But really, the turning point of this series was the domination. I've got to share this for you guys on screen. Incredible situation, frankly, on Domination Hackney Yard. It came down to the wire. Subliners were in the lead, but once again, these dodgy spawns you seem to get on Hackney Yard when you control the A flag. And so basically, Huntsman had A and B, and Subliners were pushing up to the B flag to try and neutralize it. And all of a sudden, one of the Huntsman players spawns right at the top of the map, and because he's up there, his teammate gets effectively a squad spawn on him by the C flag. So even though they hold A and effectively B almost, they're still spawning out and getting spawn flipped to C. They then win that, then they pinch in on the B flag and end up winning it. These kind of things just happen on Hackney Yards. That's just what it is. You got to expect it at this point, but it just makes it really difficult if you're in the Subliners position, working from the C and B side, knowing they can spawn behind you and cap C at any time. But yeah, Huntsman clutch up in the end. It was a really close one. And then at game 4, they close it out. This was what was impressive to me, because given how good Subliners have been in the hardpoint, they dominated Atlanta FaZe on this map earlier in the day, as we saw. The fact that Huntsman came out and beat them pretty comfortably, to me, it was really impressive, because this was one of the best maps I've seen Huntsman play in a long time. Their rotations were super clean, they were getting spawns, they were, team play, trading, it was all there. And that was impressive from the Huntsmen, because we don't see that every day, and that could be a turning point for them in their weekend. So they do get the revenge on the Subliners, beating them 3-1 and knocking them out of the tournament. Mac with the 100 kill series on the whole. Everyone on Huntsman goes negative, but they still win the series in impressive fashion. So probably shows New York aren't exactly doing everything right if that is the case. But yeah, in the domination, they managed to make it work just at the end here. And Arcitys does some clapping back, right? So Subliners did this tweet yesterday, losing to the Subliners, where does it hurt? As Clayster says in reply to this one, that's why you gotta wait till they're out of the tournament to talk trash. And Arcitys is like, it does hurt, huh? And I think Formal replied to this initial tweet as well. But Arcitys then says, like, in all seriousness, GG's, they've improved on that. They're nasty. Play Dallas tomorrow. Excited for that one. So this is what the bracket looks like on the whole. Atlanta FaZe, Seattle Surge, Dallas Empire versus the Chicago Huntsmen. This is the timeline, so it's 9 o'clock my time for the FaZe Surge series, 10:30, and then the grand finals will be at midnight my time. So it all kicks off at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Atlanta Surge, like, I can't really see this going another way than FaZe managing to win this one. And Empire Huntsman is really interesting now, because I said coming into the weekend, I felt like Dallas might just have the edge here, just because of what I've seen from, Dallas in the past. I felt like if there's a time they're going to beat the Huntsmen, this might be it. But at the same time, Huntsmen have beaten Dallas the last 3 times they played them. Even though that wasn't a LAN environment, Dallas probably looked better this weekend. However, Huntsmen having lost to New York, they've had much more of a challenge, I suppose, coming close against Royal Ravens, coming close against New York twice now, to what the Dallas Empire have had, kind of running through their series pretty easily versus OGLA and Seattle, right? So maybe the Huntsmen have had more of a challenge, and especially that map 4 hardpoint that we just saw. That was really impressive. That was the best I've seen Huntsman play in a long time, quite frankly. And if they play like that, I think there'll be a real challenge for the Empire to beat them. And on the whole, probably Huntsman, you might consider them favourites, given they've beaten the Empire 3 times already this season. So yeah, something to keep in mind indeed. But I'm really intrigued to see how this goes. I did say before the weekend started, I was going to predict an Atlanta versus Dallas finals, with Dallas versus Chicago, with Dallas beating Chicago in this matchup right here. So I'm going to stick to my guns on that one. But if Chicago play how they did yesterday in map 4, I really think they have a great chance here. And the search, it may well come down to the search and destroy. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a game 5. But Atlanta FaZe Seattle, it's just hard to predict against FaZe right now. But yeah, I'm still going to go with FaZe to win the whole thing. But I'm really excited to see how this goes. With any luck, we might get a Chicago versus FaZe grand final, which I would love to see, frankly, because we haven't even seen that matchup so far this season. And it looked like this weekend was going to be the one. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new as always. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.